Welcome to part 8, if I'm not mistaken, of our building a Rick and Morty app in iOS. In the last part, we put together our cell and actually got some stuff showing up here. In this part, we're going to actually continue with this and get real data instead of our hard-coded examples. So before we dig in, drop a like, throw a comment down there. You guys know the drill, and let's dig right in. So we actually hard-coded a view model by just creating it in this function where we dequeue a cell and return it. Now, instead of doing that, what we really want to do is we want to get the view models and derive them from our actual API response. That would be the smart thing to do and the actual thing to do. We also don't want to hard code how many cells we have. We want this to be dynamic as we get data, perhaps paginate and scroll down, so on and so forth. So let's actually do all that. So we already have this function here, which is fetch characters, and we actually call this, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to toss a public on it. We actually call this from our view controller, I believe. Let's go ahead and see where we call this from. Now we create this view model here, rather we create the view here, and let me see where this function is called from. All right, let's see if I toss it into the view. So I did in fact toss it into the view, and we're saying view model.fetch characters. Now notice there's no completion handler, and the reason for that is actually intentional. And the reason is we don't really want a callback here. Maybe we can use something like a delegate pattern to actually inform our view, hey, you should reload the collection view, the data has changed. So let's actually do that. So we make the call here via our service, and once we have the models back, this is a collection of models. So I'm going to say it's a model, I take it back, because this response model actually has our results on it. So we're going to say our results will be a response model dot results. Now this is the collection of results that we actually have, and we also have this notion of info, which is our response model dot info. And this info is important because it has an optional string, which is the URL to get more results, aka next. So we are going to want to retain both of these for the duration of when the app runs. Let's ignore the info for the time being and just focus on results. So in this view model, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a private collection, and this is going to basically be characters, which will be a collection of RM character, a single character, and it's going to start off as a empty collection. So similar to what we did with weak self in the view with our view model, we want to also reference that character collection here, and I'm going to reference self in a weak capacity so we don't cause a retain cycle, aka a memory leak. So here I can say that for the characters, we want to assign this to the results. Now, once we've actually assigned this, we want to somehow tell our view, hey, refresh the data that you're putting into the collection view, aka reload your data source data. Now, before we do that, we want to adjust the data source. So here we're saying the number of cells to show should be 20. We want it to be based on the characters. Now, instead of the characters directly, what I can actually go ahead and do is we want another collection of view models, right? So either we can create this collection of view model every single time, or we can create them whenever characters is in fact updated. So I'm going to create another collection here. So I'm going to say private var, and this is going to be cell view models, and it's going to be a RM collection view cell view model, and this is going to start off as empty as well. Now we're going to use this technique where we're going to say whenever the value of characters is assigned, we want to do something. What we're going to do is we're going to say for character in characters, we're going to loop over all of them. We're going to create a view model. This is going to basically be let view model will be one of these guys, and we're going to fill in all of this stuff. So the character name here will be character.name, the status will be character.status, and the URL will be a URL, and this is going to be character.image. And I believe this is non-optional, which is awesome, so we don't need to unwrap anything. Now we're going to say cell view models, and we will append our particular view model into this. So let's go ahead and say append this view model. So whenever this character is assigned to, we'll actually implicitly create and hang on to these view models. Now the reason we want to hang on to them is we don't want to create these every single time we get more data, right? So later on we're going to be paginating and loading in data iteratively. And for example, if we scroll down, let's say, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, we're going to have a total of 60 characters. It's kind of silly to recompute those view models over and over, and it's expensive, that being said, right? We don't want to do it. It's kind of a waste of compute power on the device. So now that we have these cell view models, we want to actually use this to return how many cells we show. So we'll say cell view models.count. And instead of creating a view model here when we dequeue a cell, we can actually just read it at the given position in our existing collection. And index path here is an inbound argument to this method, and it has both a row and section property. So we're going to focus on row, which is basically what we want since we only have one section of data. You can logically separate these into multiple sections. If you have any, we don't, so we're going to ignore that. And if you want to shorthand this even more, you can just toss this directly into there like so. So awesome, looking good. The final thing we want to do is actually tell our collection view to reload once that data has been updated. But let me actually go ahead and give it a run and show you what I mean by that, right? So it looks like in this particular case, everything is working out fine because we are actually calling fetch, and this data source here just so happens to be ready by the time that we go and load the view and set everything up. But more specifically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a protocol, and we're going to actually tell our collection view explicitly go ahead and reload your data. So let's see how on earth we're going to do that, right? So we have this character list view here, and we can in fact notify it via something that we can actually update. And the way we're going to do that is by saying view model. Before we actually say to fetch characters, we'll say view model, its delegate will be self. And we don't actually have that created yet, so let's jump into that view model. And I'm going to create a protocol up here, and it's going to be the name of the class suffixed by delegate. And we're going to create a single function in here and say did load initial characters. And we are also going to have a reference to a public weak var of the name delegate and of the type of this protocol optional. And we want it to be weak because we don't want to have it retain a cyclical memory pointer and leak memory. And this is yelling at me because this does need to be class bound so we can actually capture it in a weak capacity. And now, once we actually have this here, we want to go ahead and say, hey, let me tell my delegate that we just loaded the initial characters. And we're going to want to do this on the main queue, the main thread, because this is going to trigger a update of a view. So we're going to say dispatch queue, main, async, and toss that in there. So now on the receiving side, which is our actual view here, this is yelling at us because it's saying, hey, you don't conform to this protocol, which makes sense because we in fact do not. So let me come down here and I'm going to do it in an extension so it's nice and clean. We're going to say rm character list view. Let's see if I can find it. Character list view. We're going to conform to the view models delegate, and there is a single function we've implemented. And when this is called, we are simply going to say for our collection view, go ahead and reload your data. And just like that, we can guarantee, even if the async job to fetch the characters takes a significant amount of time, we're never going to end up in a case where, the view showed up before we actually went ahead and got the data. Now, it just dawned on me that we need to still remove this hard-coded thing that we did here, which is to reload or set this to not hidden and reload everything. So I'm going to get rid of this stuff. We had added this to kind of test this out, and you'll notice if I give this a run now, we actually never get rid of the spinner, and we actually never show the collection view because we want to do that in this function here, right? So we're going to say we want to stop animating the spinner, and we don't need all of these selves. We want to also unhide the collection view, and we want it to fade in, which I've already got there, and we want to reload the data. Now, we're only going to reload for the initial fetch of characters. As we build out pagination, which is unlimited scroll, we don't want to reload the whole view every time the user gets, more characters and pop them to the top, right? If you think of, any app out there like Twitter, when you get to the bottom, it just shows more data. It's kind of unlimited. So we're going to make sure we appropriately add more cells as we get them. So let's go ahead and give this a build and run. And it's actually incredibly fast, so you guys probably missed a spinner. So we'll see a spinner and it just basically loads in immediately. And as we scroll down, you'll see these characters pop in. And as we scroll up, you'll see the characters there as well. But we are in fact loading them over and over. So it looks like we are in pretty good shape. One thing that I think we can do is we can in fact go ahead and improve how this layout looks. And I'll do this in this video since we're doing good on time. So we'll jump into the cell and let me go ahead and decrease the height of each of these labels. And perhaps we'll also give it a little bit of more padding here. So I am gonna say from the left and right, we're gonna do maybe we'll do 7, 7, and let's see what this one is here, 7. And this will give us a little more room from the left and right of the labels. And we can probably move it even a little more down. So for the name labels bottom anchor, maybe we don't want a margin. We can get rid of this constant here. So the name label will be closer to that status. Okay, looking pretty good. And by just looking at it, we don't really know. So we know this is alive, right? But when we come down here and there's characters with unknown statuses, so I just saw a couple down here, it doesn't really know, as a user, I don't know what the heck this means, right? So maybe we want to prefix it with the word status. And the other thing I noticed here is that the first letter for alive and dead actually in our enum was in fact capitalized, but unknown is not. So what I'm going to do is we're going to jump into the view model and we're going to do two things in here. Well, one thing in here. For our computed property, we're going to go ahead and do this as status, and then we're going to stick in what we were returning before. And the other thing I'm going to do is we're going to jump into this enum, and instead of just using the raw value, what I'm going to do is create a computed property and say text, and we are going to switch on self. And what we're going to do is for alive and dead, we can simply return the raw value, but for unknown, we're going to return unknown with a capital U. Now keep in mind, we can't just update it here because these keys are actually linked directly to the schema we get back from our JSON, and if we change it to capital, it'll actually break stuff. So back in our view model here, instead of using raw value, we can use text. So let's go ahead and give it a build and run, and everything should be looking much better. So we see status here, we've got the name, awesome looking character images. Now unknown is actually also capitalized, which is awesome. And the very last thing I'm going to do in here, because I like rounded corners, is we're going to round these cards on their corners. And to do that, we can basically adjust the layer on the content view. So let's go ahead and do that here. I'm going to say content view dot layer. I'm going to say corner radius, and we're going to set it to perhaps 8 and take a look at what that looks like. So we now have these nice rounded corners. You can also play with the shadow. There is a way to also do that. I believe, if memory serves, there is a layer dot shadow, and there are a couple of things. There's offset, radius, opacity, and color. So for the color, let's go ahead and just do secondary. Let's do label and see what that looks like. It's the opposite of the background color, so it should look pretty nice. We'll also go ahead and do maybe the radius here, which is a single floating point. We'll do maybe 4. And then we'll also go ahead and do what else we need, which is opacity. I'll go ahead and do 0.4, and let's see if we actually see what that looks like. So this needs to be a core graphics color. So we're gonna do the label color.cg color. And all that means is that we're using a type that is more comfortable to the GPU, which handles expensive operations like actually creating shadows. So now we have a nice shadow. It looks like it's showing it at the top of the card. Perhaps we want it at the bottom. Let me actually go ahead and change the offset here. So there is a corner radius offset. let's see what I'm looking for, shadow offset, I believe is what it's called. And this is a CG size, so we can specify a width and a height. So I'll say -4 and -4. And if I'm being honest, I'm kind of playing with these numbers because I can never remember what the heck they mean. It looks like it looks pretty good. And let me try it in light mode. And we'll also make it a little less dark, a little more opaque perhaps, because it is a little prominent. So I will go ahead and say maybe for the color, we're going to use a secondary label. And for the opacity, maybe I'll use 0.3. Let's see if that looks any better. Okay, looking a little better. I think it's a little hard to actually see if I'm not mistaken here. So it looks like it is in fact there. I want it to look a little further down. So let me change the offset here to be 4 and let's try that one more time. We're kind of guessing and checking as we go. All right, so that looks pretty good. The image is not flush to the top. So the last thing I'll do in here, even though I keep saying that over and over, is I'm going to change the content mode for the image to not only be aspect fit, but to fill basically the frame. That way we'll get this all the way to the top. You can see it's overflowing its bounds actually. So what we also need to now tell this image view is, hey, clip the image to your bounds. So don't, overflow. And that way we get these nicer, fuller cards. We actually have this shadow. One less problem we'll fix, and this will actually be the last thing, is when we change light mode and dark mode. If you look really closely, the shadow is actually not changing, and that's because we need to handle trait collection updates. In other words, we're going to handle the light mode, dark mode changing. I'm going to abstract this to its own function here, so it's organized. Alrighty, so now that we've done that, let's go ahead and just override that one function, which is going to be, I can delete this here, which is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, trait collection did change. We'll call the super of this, which is the superclass's implementation, and we're simply going to say setup layer. So it'll just set up the layer again whenever it changes. So if I go into dark mode, it's very, very difficult to see because it is in fact so subtle, the color that I've chosen here for the layer. Let me actually change it to be a darker color. So there we can see the shadow is more prominent, and we can certainly see it in light mode more appropriately as well as dark mode. So that is where we'll wrap this up. We're actually showing real characters, and I might be biased, but it wasn't that much work to get here. It was a lot of explanation along the way, but if you've gotten this far, this is pretty awesome. This is 80% of apps out there. So give a huge round of applause to yourself. Drop a like before clicking away. Subscribe if you're new. Share what you've built on LinkedIn. You can tag me. Feel free to @ me on Twitter. Follow on Instagram, all the socials. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next part.